We're trying to get in touch with Ruth Pollard, the Middle East correspondent for The Age. It's a tenuous phone line at best, where she can tell us her own story. Ruth, thank you very much for your time. We understand that security forces have fired on supporters of Mohammed Morsi. Does this all happen in the one place, or was this at various places?
Well, there were two main sites of the protest camp, one in Giza out near the pyramids and the other one in Nasser City. And the one in Giza was cleared very quickly this morning with bulldozers and military firing tear gas on the protesters. The one out at Nasser City, the battle went on out there for 12 hours, and as far as we know, at least 278 people have been killed and more than 2,000 have been injured in those clashes.
And supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood, they're claiming a death toll far in excess of 278. Which figure are you more inclined to believe?
I think we're probably going to find that it's more than 278 because there were still many, many dead and injured being ferried out of the protest area when it was finally cleared at 6 p.m. tonight. And so they will only just be making it to hospitals, and the hospitals will only just be getting to treat them. I don't know that it's going to be necessarily in the thousands, as the Muslim Brotherhood claims, but it's certainly going to be, a very large figure and one that should disturb all of us.
Where's Nasser City in relation to Cairo?
It's about 30 minutes on a good day from the centre of Cairo. So it's a very large business district just outside the capital.
And are there protests currently taking place in Cairo?
Look, there's a state of emergency in Cairo and in 14 of the provinces across Egypt, and that includes a nighttime curfew. So the streets of Cairo are usually absolutely choked with traffic, as you would probably know, but I'm looking down from my flat to empty streets at the moment, and there's no cars and no people out there. So there's very few protests happening, if any, but there is a very large military and security police presence on the street.
The security forces, for which I take it is a reference to the army, have they ever done this before? Have they got a track record of firing at protesters?
Well, there's been two massacres of Muslim Brotherhood protesters in the last 6 weeks. One on July the 8th, in which 51 protesters died, and another one, I think it was on the 28th of July, where around 74 protesters died. So it's a combination of the military, of police, and of armed thugs who kind of join in the fray that participate in these operations, and a lot of people get caught in the crossfire.
We understand that there are two opposing groups here. Is either of those groups currently carrying the hearts and minds of the Egyptian people?
Well, certainly the Muslim Brotherhood is not carrying the hearts and minds of the majority of the Egyptian people. After being elected to government 12 months ago, on a very slim margin of around 52%, Mohammed Morsi became very unpopular very, very quickly. And after just 1 year in government, hundreds of thousands of people turned out on the streets to call for his downfall. And that's what happened on July the 3rd, and that's why the protesters in support of the Brotherhood have been sitting in these protest camps ever since. But the mood on the streets is very pro-military and pro-move to redrafting the constitution and going to new elections. People have said that they're done with the experiment with the Muslim Brotherhood. It's been a disastrous year in Egypt, according to many people we speak to. There's been no reform of the economy, and the security situation remains very unstable.
Okay, if there was an election held today, who would be the new president?
Well, that's a little hard to say. There's only an interim government in place. Certainly the head of the army, General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, is incredibly popular, but he claims that he's not interested in running for the presidency. So there are no real viable candidates at the moment.
Ruth, you told us that you're looking at down the street from your flat. Do you personally feel safe in Cairo, and do you go out and do your shopping, for example?
Of course. the funny thing about these protests is that, there is a lot of violence and tear gas that happens in one very concentrated area or a couple of concentrated areas. But for the most part, Egyptians are trying to get on with their lives, run their businesses, send their kids to school, do the shopping and go about their business. And that's why this, really extreme level of disruption that was caused by the Muslim Brotherhood protesters has been, so annoying and constricting for Egyptians. Obviously, it's really scary at the protests when there's tear gas flying and there's bullets whizzing by. But for the most part, I feel pretty safe here.
And give us a rating. We've got a colleague on this program who reviewed Cairo by saying, "Don't ever go there." Is that a view you share, or can you find highlights?
Not at all. I mean, I think there's a lot of wonderful things about Cairo and about Egypt in general, and I always enjoy my trips here. I come here often for work, and I feel very lucky that I get to see as much of the country that I do.
Ruth, lovely to chat with you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot.